centered exposed zipper. So that means the zipper is centered and the seam is centered to the zippers very much. So there is a seam involved. So if you come across a design or whatever you're doing that has the seam that you want to put the exposed zippers into it, you just need to know what to do with the seam. And also there is that piece of fabric at the bottom of the zipper. You can see it here, the diagonal edge. That to me, that had two purposes, kind of. One is that it covers the bottom of the zipper so you don't see it. It looks better, and you will see it in a lot of garments as well. And the other purpose could be a pocket that you can just zip down the slider and hide the slider in there, kind of. But it has to be in a way to be able to pull it back up again. Okay, so but that holds this slider inside, and then you can just pull it back up. So we'll deal with that now to see how that works. So as I said, we need two pieces of fabric to create a seam. Doesn't matter what seam you have. You have a 1/2 inch, you have 1/4 inch, 3/8. You're going to be seaming it together first at the bottom of the zipper and leave just the top part that zipper goes into open. So that would be plus, if this is the bottom of the zipper that I want to have, I always go 1/2 inch above into the zipper to close this from the bottom. So that means my closure is going to be, my opening is going to be a little bit shorter, 1/2 inch shorter than the zipper itself. So I stitch that close from here. It could be, as I said, 1/4 inch seam, 1/2 inch seam, or whatever seam that you have. I close that seam. Let me just draw a line here so to see the rest of the seam that we have, what's going to happen to it, because that's where I closed it to. I can show you here. So that's where I stitch from the bottom up, right to the bottom of the zipper, plus 1/2 inch more into the zipper. And this is the rest of the seam allowance I have at the top. Pretty much I'm going to be cutting off that extra seam allowance that I have at the top, because I want to create a flat surface like what we did with the first sample. First sample that we had a flat one piece solid fabric and we slashed into it. Now this is going to end up to be already having slashed. So that's why I'm going to cut that off. So the bottom part, we use it as a seam allowance to close it together. The top part of the seam allowance I cut off. So when I open this up and press the seam open, so we end up with kind of a flat one piece again, except that we already have that opening slashed because it was open. So the same thing applies to this as the first sample I did. Let me just draw the triangle for you. Like this. So my triangle at the bottom is going to be like that. I don't know how visible angle. So the scrap fabric like that, and then just fold it in an angle. like that, this way. And I'm going to use that diagonal line to go across the zipper, straight up, like this. It will make sense later. There's a lot of fabric here, I can cut it away. What I'll do, I'm gonna stitch this down into to one side of the zipper first. And if you're planning to use this as a pocket for the slider to go in, so you might as well create a little bit of room in there for it. So for that reason, I can just put something underneath just to lift it up a little bit, to create a little bit of room, and stitch it down. Or you can just push it in a little bit and stitch it like this. And of course, I don't need that excess fabric here. I'm going to cut it away. So all I'm going to be left of is this. So that gets attached to the zipper first before you stitch it in. That's why I had to backtrack a little bit to be able to do this. So this way, if you have a zipper that is too long and you don't want to use the full length, you can always cut the zipper off and add this to the bottom to cover it. So you don't have to use the full length and you don't have to adjust it from the top. So cut it from the bottom. Sew this in first and cut it from the bottom. So let's stitch this in again. I just have to get the slider out of the way all the time, otherwise it interferes. So go right to the bottom, give a little bit more room. If you don't want to stitch across the zipper teeth, the metal part of the zipper, just go a little bit lower, and then when you rotate it towards yourself this way, you should be able to see your triangle underneath. That triangle towards the needle. Cut that all the way into the needle. And that lets you rotate this 180 all the way down. And make sure that all the excess fabric pulled out. You don't want any of these to be underneath. So you have to pull it out and make it flat. So rotate it this way. So make sure your zipper is lining up right to the seam underneath. The center of the zipper lining up right to the seam. And you stitch the bottom. So when you rotate it, make sure that this is clear so your foot doesn't go on top of the metal part. So rotate it back and slash the other side of the triangle. You can see it here. Right toward the needle again. You have to close this. Hi.
Sorry, just one other thing.
That didn't have very much. So I'm gonna slash that again underneath towards the needle. And again, rotate the zippers another 180, bring it all the way up. slide the zipper down, continue on. This piece here, it doesn't have to be as long, it doesn't need to be very big. You could adjust it to any length, as long as you get some coverage at the bottom. This is like 1.5 inches. You could do like 1/2 inch, or you could do 1 inch. Doesn't matter, as long as you know what to do with it and how that works. So it's same thing works for any kind of a measurement. So it depends how much of a opening you want to get, because that restricts a little bit your opening as well. So you want to